In general, a barbell deadlift is considered to be more advanced than a kettlebell deadlift or a trap bar deadlift. And today I'm going to show you two different variations, conventional and sumo. So first and foremost, you'll get your bar loaded up and you want to make sure that you put clips on either side of the bar. If you were to pick the bar up without clips and you were off kilter a little bit and the weight slid off, that could be really dangerous. So make sure that you put clips on either side of the bar and make sure that the weight is pressed all the way to the end of the bar. And I mentioned this in the Trap Bar Deadlift video, but a lot of people deadlift either barefoot or in a flat-soled shoe like a Chuck Taylor. The shoes that I'm wearing are actually physical therapist recommended because I've got some postural issues, so that's why you'll see me deadlifting like this. But again, you'll often see people deadlifting barefoot, in socks, or in a really flat-soled shoe. You got to find out what feels good to you. And also, when it comes to deadlifting, there are some general principles that you should absolutely be following, but it's really important to know that everyone's deadlift is going to look slightly different based on your height, your limb length, your movement history, and just what feels comfortable to you. So when you're setting up for a conventional stance deadlift, you want to set up with your feet about hip bone width apart, and you're going to walk right up on the bar. Now, for some people, they like to start with their shins right on the bar. Other people like to start with the bar maybe an inch or two away. You're going to set up with your feet right in line with your hip bones, and just like we've done in every other deadlift demonstration, you're going to hinge back into your hips. But before you do that, you really want to set your core. The way that we set our core is by breathing in through our nose, blowing out hard through our mouth, and thinking about getting our rib cage towards our pelvis. That's going to give you a nice stable core. Then you're going to breathe in again and fill up 360 degrees with air. What you don't want to do is fill up only in the front, because you'll see that puts me in lumbar hyperextension. So when you breathe in, blow your air out, and breathe in again. You want to fill up circumferentially or all the way around. Once you've set your core, you're going to push back into your hips, and there's two different ways to get down to the bar. Sometimes people like to push back into their hips, and when they feel their hamstrings kind of catch or get a lot of tension, then they push back into their hips as they bend their knees to get to the bar. Other people like to do it in one smooth motion. It's kind of what they call the short stop motion. I got this from my good friend Justin Ford. You put your hands on the front of your knees, and you push back like you're going to get in a short stop position, and then you continue that motion down to the bar. And what this does is it puts your butt about halfway between your knees and your shoulders, which is going to work really well for a lot of people. If your butt gets any higher, it kind of turns into a Romanian deadlift, and if your butt's any lower, it turns almost into a squat. So having the hips or the butt about halfway between the shoulders and the knees works really well for a lot of people. Once you get down to the bar, you're going to pull on it and create a little bit of tension on the bar. And I liken this to like going tubing, on a lake with a boat. You would never just be on the tube and have the boat take off all of a sudden. What would happen is the boat would start pulling you a little bit, get a little bit of tension on the rope, and then take off. Same thing with this. If you're lifting a heavy weight off the ground, the last thing you want to do is jerk it all the way off the ground. You want to squeeze the bar hard, get tension on your body, and you also want to tighten your lats, which are right here. So you're going to be tightening those right next to your body, and that's going to help stabilize your entire spine. One way to think about that is protect your armpits. Like if someone were going to come tickle your armpits, you'd squeeze your arms down by your side to protect it. So once you've grabbed the bar, gotten in position, gotten really tight, you're going to think about pulling the weight back. It's really important not to think about lifting the bar up. Oftentimes the bar will swing away from you if you do that. If you think about pulling it back and dragging it straight up your legs, that's when you'll be in the best position for a successful deadlift. So right up next to the bar, I'm going to push back into my hips, grab the bar. I want my shins almost vertical. My hips are about halfway between my shoulders and my knees. I'm nice and tight. And I'm going to stand up and bring my hips. Reverse the motion to put it back down. Another really important thing to mention is that you should finish a deadlift with your glutes and not your lower back. So when you stand up with the weight, you don't want to stand up and finish with your low back. You want to finish with your glutes. So you'll see that nice, strong hip thrust, but finishing with the glutes instead of the lower back. And you'll notice all I do to put the weight back down is reverse the motion. Now I'm going to show you what a conventional barbell deadlift looks like from the side. Remember, the most important thing here is to make sure that your spine is nice and neutral, that the load is evenly distributed in your hips, your glutes, your hamstrings, and your core. You definitely don't want your lower back taking all the load. So that's why it's so important to keep a neutral spine, including a neutral head. You'll see a lot of people deadlift with their chin back, looking up at the ceiling. The rationale behind that is that your body's going to go where your head and your eyes go. And while I can understand that, it's not the best long-term strategy for your spine. So for women who are just wanting to look good, feel healthy and strong, we have them deadlift with a neutral spine. One more thing is I've been deadlifting with a double overhand grip, and this works really well when the weight's a little bit lighter. At some point, when the weight gets really heavy, you might want to flip your grip under, and you'll be able to hold on to the bar a little bit more. The point at which you do that is going to be slightly different for everyone, but I generally find that when I'm worried more about holding onto the bar than actually being able to pick up the weight, that's when I flip my grip. So I'll show you what this looks like from the side. I'm still using this double overhand grip. Walk right up on the bar. I'm going to push back into my hips and stop when I feel my hamstrings catch. Bend down to the bar the rest of the way. Shins are almost vertical. Lats are nice and tight. Pick it up. Again, you'll notice my butt is about halfway between my knees and my shoulders, and my spine stays neutral the whole time. And that's a conventional barbell deadlift.